Episode 519 of the TV Dudes, recorded December 18th, 2024. Best of the Year, Part 1. The Rest. This week, we start our Best of the Year, going through all the shows we loved, the things that threw us, and the comfort benches that got us through a long-ass year.
Yes, this episode will get us into the near misses, the things that were almost loved, and the darlings that just missed us.
Then, next week, we'll run down our actual top 10 for the year.
But first, I'm Nick.
And I'm Les.
And we're the TV Dudes.
No diaries this week, so that we can dive right in.
Indeed. Though we still want to mention that if you haven't joined us over at patreon.com/tvdudes, you can throw us down $1 an episode and get bonus content each week.
This week, we'll be discussing Carry On Netflix now, which I figure like most of the rest of you, we got to over Christmas break.
But first, let's talk about this whole damn year in review.
January. Where do we even start? Ice Spice left us shook with You Ain't Even the Taylor and Travis at the game. No door on the plane. Mean Girls the musical came out and people said that it was lame. Nominations for Barbie, but none for Margot Robbie. Bigfoot, yes, and Sierra misbecame Starry. Gypsy Rose press tour, Bieber's pregnant wife, and we can't forget. I think I like this little life.
So, I think we were talking about this off mic a little bit, and to us as the TV Dudes, I think we had a little bit of like a cognitive dissonance between us and the rest of the critical TV reviewer world this year.
It sure seemed that way.
Like,
when I look at my top 10 list for the year, it is full of shows that I watched all of, like 8-10 hours of show each one easily, that I would rewatch in a heartbeat, that I love. So like I look at the list and I'm like, damn, it's an embarrassment of riches. This is a great year. But my feeling month to month all year has been that I am taking crazy pills and out of touch with the world, and like just don't get it. I don't know. Like I just I felt out of step all year. So rolling into making my list, I was like, God, what a terrible year in television.
Yeah, it was
which it wasn't. It wasn't.
There was some great new stuff, but like there was like a lot of our old faves kind of dropped down and dropped off.
I guess I felt bummed about that, but when I looked at the list and realized how much new stuff, I was like, actually, I feel great about this. That it's been kind of throwing me the last few years that it's been the Modern Family of Emmy style of like every year all 27 goddamn
I
awards.
wish it was because those new things were so unbelievably good, which some of them are, but some of it is because, well, some of these old shows have lost a step, and like Harley Quinn didn't have a season this year to be on here, but its side thing, Kite Man, was nowhere near.
It was fine.
Yeah. And its last season, Harley Quinn wasn't on the best of because it lost a step.
But like Crapopolis has arced up to be as good as Kite Man.
Man, I wanted to talk about Crapopolis, of like it coming into its own this year, but we'll get to that. But I think for me, it started off with, if we want to get into like the critical.
So I looked up like the Roger Ebert list.
Yeah.
Like, all right, let's the critic that I respected, and it still has a site going. What was their top 25 list? And I kind of put it down there. I think 25 on their list was Batman Cape Crusader.
Well, if we want to go back further, where I started to feel a dissonance between everybody was even before Cape Crusader. It was 97. X-Men 97 was the first time. Yes. It was the first time in this year where I was like, am I nuts? Like, or am I just completely on the opposite end of everybody in the world here? Because to me, X-Men 97 was all right. And
it was fine.
It was fine.
See myself rewatching it.
And some of the episodes were better than others, and some of those episodes kind of sucked because the X-Men. I've gone back to watch some of the old episodes, and even for 90s, it's like they made the dialogue worse trying to ape it. It's the way they talk. I felt suck.
Crazy was that the things that that show particularly was being specifically praised for was one of the things I thought it was worst at.
Yes,
of like, no, but this is stilted and weird. I just
his intentions can only be known as sinister. Shut up, Beast. I was like, what, Beast? Weren't you my favorite character back in the cartoon? How come I hate you now? It's like every time you open your mouth, I want you to shut your fur bluey.
If folks want to watch us argue with all the other dudes,
yeah, it's well documented on what our problems were X-Men 97. But that was the first point where I was like,
wait.
but to your point, Cape Crusader came out and everyone fucking just lost their shit over it and was like, oh my God, it's such a return to form. It's
No,
like,
it to me it was like, hey, that thing you remember from the 90s, but what if boring?
yeah, yeah, no, I went back and watched some of the episodes of the old 90s Batman the Animated Series.
Oh, we made the mistake of throwing one on right after watching some Cape Crusader.
In the shot language of the cinematography and the lighting, there was a fire that
Mhm.
grew from the exposed chemical warehouse where he was trying to figure out Man-Bat,
Mhm.
and there was like the fire billowing out with the smoke and how
Yeah,
it
it looked cool.
and the shadows on how it reflected off the EMT people that had shown up to where
Yeah.
they spot Batman coming through. It was all dramatic and it looked amazing. And then Batman
Yeah.
the Caped Crusader comes up and the lighting in every scene is the exact fucking
Right.
same.
I think about the amount of times that I've told people that prior to Lower Decks, Star Trek the Animated Series was the best Star Trek.
Mhm.
And everybody's like, yeah, but the animation looks like ass.
Sure.
Like, then this year I'm like watching people fawn over Cape Crusader, and I'm like, okay, man, Filmation did just as fine a job.
Well, if it was just the animation, I could probably live with it, even though I thought like, dude, this animation looks cheap as fuck and it's stilting these fight scenes. These fight scenes aren't as dynamic. There's no bend in them. The 90s show was, as far as being darker or more adult, the 90s show was more intense. Even if it's implied violence, it was more violent in my mind than this actual people getting shot in Cape Crusader, because there's still no blood.
Mm-mm.
Like no one actually bleeds. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. For me, it was the epitome of trying to make a thing adult when it wasn't. The original show was praised at the time for not like for being more than a kid show, and like, oh, but what if we made that but like cool, they tried to Snyder the animated series to me and it sucked. I
Mhm.
hated it. I really like, the more I think about it, like I was pretty cool on it when I first watched it and I'm like, I don't think this is all that great. And then the more I think about it now looking back on it, I'm like, no, I think that sucked. Like I think that was a waste of time,
Yeah.
and animators still like we should, whenever the season 2 comes out of that, I doubt I'll even
No,
watch
I'm
it.
not
Like that
watching
was
that.
a
Yeah.
bummer.
One that showed up on everybody's lists was Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which I did watch all of, and I didn't hate.
Okay, that
but
was another one that
also,
like that
I
one.
just didn't plug into. It feels so. You remember that Bill Murray Christmas special from a few years back?
Yeah.
It's got that hipster Sophia Coppola distance, and I
Mhm.
just couldn't get into it quite as much.
I swear to God, if it wasn't Danny, or not Danny Glover, Donald Glover, and what's her name is the main female
Maya
lead,
Erskine.
Maya Erskine.
Yeah,
If it
right?
wasn't
Yeah.
those two and their actual chemistry
Mhm.
carrying the show, that show would be fucking useless.
I found myself enjoying each one, but at the same time, not. I don't know. It's not the vibe I want to sit down with.
Yeah, there's not of enough of a through line with their.
Yeah, I really thought there'd be more of that.
Well, like the people they're working for and why they seem
Mm,
to want them to like kill each other. Like the whole opening with Skarsgård and
right, and yeah, them trying to get out and know, and yeah, and I thought that was going to
mhm.
go more somewhere.
Like
I
that
don't
was
know.
gonna lead to like there was gonna be more of a mystery with the
It did make my top 10, but I'm probably gonna watch. I will probably watch more if there's more that comes out.
It did make your top 10?
It did not.
Oh,
It
okay.
did not.
I was gonna say.
No. It did not. It was way down the list, but at the same time, I would probably watch more. It just I didn't quite. Renegade Nell, we were talking about a little bit before
I thought
we're
that I
starting.
actually really liked at least the vibe of it.
Same, and I love Orla. She's
Absolutely.
the shit.
I
I
really
cannot
think
remember
they
that actress's name, but
and shockingly enough, like one of the worst parts about it is a Ted Lasso actor.
yes, that
Uh,
honestly the reason it didn't make my top 10 is because the fairy character played by Nate from Ted Lasso just doesn't work for me.
well, the rules on how it works are just
The
very
rules are
frustrating. I don't
dumb.
really under.
Yeah, it makes him a frustrating character because he just can't help. He just won't help.
Mhm. I did like the bad guy from Hustle. Like
Yes,
I hadn't seen him in a minute,
and the way the magic worked and shit was
and the
really cool.
the way the magic worked for him, where it was, it's weird. The villain had more of a clear, established magic works for me like this, but it takes this out of me. I can only do so much of
Mhm.
it. and that's why he's after her, because she has like fairy magic, what doesn't seem to have like
Mhm.
a cost to it.
Right.
You could like you immediately understood the bad guy's goals and motivations clearer than your protagonist. It was odd.
You also got some really fun moments in fights where he suddenly it was really annoying that he wouldn't help her fight. He would just defend her.
Right.
But when it would come together, it was like watching Mario get a star and like, I'm about to wreck this room. Leroy Jenkins, motherfucker.
Well, that opening scene where she takes out those
Yeah.
it was pretty good.
So I enjoyed it, but it didn't make my
I wouldn't actively tell people to not watch Renegade now.
no.
I would actively like ward people off of Cape Crusader or even Mr. and Mrs. Smith if you don't like.
Right. The number 1, number 2 show for a lot of people's, like a lot of big critics lists this year, was one that we watched the first episode of, and it was like watching a perfume ad. Ripley.
Oh my god.
And I'm just I don't know that I've never been the audience for that show, but I was not this year.
Mhm.
It did not click, and I really liked that movie back in the day. I've liked even Ripley's Game with Malkovich. Like there are other adaptations of that character, and I like Hot Priest from Fleabag. But
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, this just didn't get me.
Well, I mean, that one was the immediately when I saw the trailer, I'm like, so if you make a thing and it's not to say that immediately when you put something in black and white, it sucks. I just think that like I could put any movie in black and white and watch it the same, and it should usually carry the same thing. It's the idea that when you purposely make your thing black and white, I feel like you are already in a mindset of like a douchey, pretentious mindset of like, well, what I have to say is important, so it
Black
should
and
be
white.
done without color or like. And I'm like, wait, what does this really even say about Ripley at all? The black and whiteness of it, at least, dude. Even Sin City had a point with its black and white thing, and a couple of the colors. A couple of things have color, and like it. And Sin City is basically a trashy fucking side piece of a movie, like, and it has a point to its black and white douchiness, and this had no point at all. And I felt like with a lot of things, there was that like him walking up the steps or whatever, like that whole long walk they did in that first episode. I don't know.
And this year I watched a bunch of like 30s Hitchcock movies, or a couple of 30s Hitchcock movies and some other noir with Lisa.
Right.
So I don't think I'm dead on it, because I honestly I wondered if I was just dead on noir, because another one that I just didn't I haven't even tried to watch it, just I didn't plug into, was Mr. Spade, which is I think it's Clive Owen in a Sam Spade detective kind of thing, and it looks cool.
Didn't even register on my radar.
Yeah, exactly. Another one, a little bit more spy stuff, I think, that I also just didn't check into at all, was The Sympathizer.
Man, there's that in the was it Black Dove? Like spy stuff seems to be hot. Was hot this year.
Recently, Black Doves. Yeah. There was a Like Water for Chocolate series adaptation.
There was,
that I believe just recently came out.
I mean, I know I'm not that big of a spy. Like spy thrillers aren't really that my thing, but I'm like genuinely shocked. There's a bunch of this on the list of like, wait, this happened?
There's a show called Sweet Pea that I saw an ad for that actually looked interesting. Like it's on my list of like, hey, when I'm stuck over Christmas, watch. But
it's on the list, but also it is very much like it's Dexter, but she's a female.
That's
like,
why.
So I'm immediately like gun shy from the Dexter part of it.
There's Industry, which I've heard is the Succession Billions-y like spot filler for that, but I want to say I didn't start watching that because I think Lena Dunham is involved. I may be wrong on that. If I'm just sticking a show with her for no reason, that's unfair. But I never watched Industry. So like a lot of these are shows where, sound off in the comments if this is one where you're like, hey, so out of all the noise, you should check that one. Pay it forward. Tell us what to watch here. Disclaimer, that just looked mad to me.
Wow, I saw the trailer on like that was Apple, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and I was like, no, thank you.
Speaking of Apple, I did not get into. I believe it was Slow Horses was on Apple, and my note here is slow.
I actually like I like the first season of that a lot. I haven't checked in on season 2.
I'm wondering. I should go back then,
because I was wondering what they're gonna do. Like they wrap it up in season 1 of like the mission that they're on, that like this anti-terrorist thing that goes completely wrong is wrapped up as far as it in So I'm wondering what season 2 brings as far as the that fuck up team.
We there was a whole Star Wars property that I just didn't watch alongside a million others, but I didn't even check in on the Acolyte. Half the internet loved it, half the internet hated it. It's canceled now, whatever. I didn't watch any of it. And my note here says because Star Wars, but Skeleton Crew's fucking rad. So
Well, man, I watched some of
is
the
Acolyte good?
I watched some of the Acolyte, and some of it is like the idea of like, oh, this is the kung fu Star Wars one. Like there wasn't a lot of there wasn't as many like there's lightsaber fights, but there was plenty of hand-to-hand fighting that wasn't lightsaber focused. And I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. This is the wushu version of Star Wars.
Okay.
And then that got involved with the bad element of that, which is just like, okay, so there's two masters and like a old grudge thing. There's twins, so of course there's going to be a swap at some point. And I just dropped off because like I ended up not caring about there was like a secret of like, oh, the Jedi might have done something bad in the past, and of course like they're not going to come through on this. The Jedi, they're not interested in having the Jedi being actual bad guys,
Right.
even though they kind of are.
Right.
Like they are raising child soldiers, but Disney has a vested interest in not saying that the Jedi suck.
Yeah. And then a lot of the things that I saw on people's lists this year were new seasons of shows where my gut instinct is to go, that's fantastic, because that show is fantastic. But was this year's
season
or part of a season or piece of a whatever mid-season whatever we do nowadays, was this year's piece amazing?
Yeah.
And like The Bear season 3. And I can point specifically to what they were doing this season, besides having to sideline Carmi a little bit. The main thing they did this season that bumped the show for me, so that am I going to keep watching The Bear? Absolutely. I liked all the rest of The Bear an insane amount. But this season, the haunt thing, the improv that made no sense, and they did it several times. Like they did it kind of, each character got some scene that was spitballed. You could feel the vibe difference. And I know that in a lot of those scenes, it was like a real chef, and like it was like a meta show's tip of the hat respect to the industry that it's doing. That's cool as a victory lap final thing or whatever. I don't know. I'm glad you throw them a party. As a narrative in a show I'm watching, that's not the best narrative that I've seen this show do. And it was one of those things this year that made me feel a little bit crazy, where I was like, you know, when you praise them the exact same for this as you did for last season's writing, but they're different, it sends the wrong signal here.
Yeah.
So like The Bear season 3 part 1 or whatever this was, I watched it. It had some great moments. I'm definitely going to watch what they do next, but also that haunt thing fucking bugged me.
I actually love John Cena as the long lost Vac brother, which is great.
Cena actually made because they sucker punched me even worse, because Cena makes the first haunt scene work.
Yeah.
He's just so crazy of a human that when he uses that word wrong and then refuses to back off it,
you can't.
It works.
Yeah.
Also, they follow that with the so what, I just get a trash bag and go get a duck for you, or what? You hit a pond? What do you need?
That's right. He's like, I got you.
No,
don't actually go steal.
Like, what kind of duck? Did I just get a trash bag? Like, no, what? The fuck are you? Yeah.
I think I can't forget what outlet actually wrote about it, but there was the one that was the dissenting opinion, was that this is the last season where Carmi can't learn a thing. Like it was like, okay, yes, Bear, you gave you one, but Carmi has to like grow or change at some point.
And I get him being, for part of a season, like there's enough, it's an ensemble, there's enough other characters and they had fun with it. I get taking the ability and the narrative to have a character just be fight, flight, or freeze. Like Carmi just kind of fucking freezes and tries to knuckle down and like is gonna snap and change. He has to. I think this season, the coolest thing they did for him was he holds that grudge and is just basically stuck in place as a character all season with Joel McHale.
Right.
And then
they have that funeral.
Runs into him at the shutdown for the restaurant, the funeral for the restaurant. And you know McHale's lying is about not remembering him. I mean, that's
I'm sorry,
insane.
I don't remember you. Like,
that's
no, fuck
insane.
you. You remember me. Fuck
but
you.
But also, what a passive aggressive, like, Carmi gets to say his piece, but it doesn't go down the way he wants that to.
Because McHale is like, yeah, and you're a better chef. Say thank you.
Yeah, like it just doesn't go down. So what do you do with that? Like, You can't. It's not as simple as go get vengeance or whatever. That won't work out the way you want. You really have to process this and let it go, dude.
Yeah. And the answer and what Carmi doesn't want to hear is that if it makes you a worse chef being better with yourself and more okay with this, that's okay.
You have to get okay with
you
that.
have to get okay with not being as good of a chef for your own mental health.
Right.
And he's just like
it's not as simple as being sure that there's a pathway to the mountaintop without that. Maybe there isn't. I don't know.
Maybe there is. You just got to be the fact that that if it doesn't happen, that's not the end of the world. And to Carmi,
Yes.
that's the end of the world. So like
that mountaintop's not worth getting to if that's the only way there.
Well, it's the same thing of like this season had episodes where like the flashback with what's her name, whole episode on that, and I was like, this is good and everything, but also I don't need. This doesn't tell me anything I don't know about her. I know that she had given that John Bernthal gave her a chance when she was down, and that's why she feels so indebted to this restaurant. Like I knew that already going in. Did
like
this?
It's sweet to see, but
Did this episode show me anything new about this character?
Not really. It just gave that actress a lap. Like that's what a lot of this season felt like, clap on the back thank yous for stuff, but not moving the show forward so much.
And I really want the show's like lesson to be right, because honestly, sometimes it feels like they're putting Carmi in the right sometimes. Like when he comes in with his non-negotiables, and then Richie comes in like the next episode with his non-negotiables, and the scene kind of treats it like Richie's being ridiculous and stupid. And I'm like, no, they're both stupid. Right. Richie's pointing out if you get dumb non-negotiables that no one can argue about, why don't I? Like, why doesn't everybody get to say a thing that is non-negotiable?
Right.
Like, this is...
And I'm with you. What I'm hoping that the show is showing there is that, like, hey, man, I'm glad you just read the same book that Richie had to read when he went and like, that's where the whole non-negotiables thing comes from, the book, the same book Richie's reading in when he goes and does Forks.
Right.
So, like, cool, this is a thing, but also, like, all self-help books, like, did you read just far enough to get up in arms about this, but you won't
finish it off?
Like you won't actually, like, all right, cool. If the restaurant has non-negotiables, they can't just be yours. They have to be for the whole team. Can
you deal with that?
And like, if you explode, then man, go back and finish that fucking book then, because you did not
you
read enough of it.
You didn't really get.
And I'm hoping that's where I'm with you. I'm hoping that's where the show's
the
going
point of the show better not be that anything is worth dying for. It's worth for your art.
That cannot be it. That's insane.
And I don't think that is. But then again, I've been wrong before.
Right? We've watched some stuff this year that we went, oh my god, is that the lesson?
Is that the lesson? Oh shit.
Let's see. What was another one that? Oh Jesus, I have on here. Umbrella Academy. You know what you did.
Well, at least that one, it seemed like the rest of the
lesson here.
The rest of the world seemed to agree with us finally on that one.
The world's better off without you.
Well, everyone fell out of love with Umbrella Academy season 3. Like they thought it was like the critic score and like audience scores went down on it at that season, and I still thought that was a fun season. I thought that was kind of a let's stop trying to fight the apocalypse. Honestly, they could have stopped there, and that would have been fine. The only reason I wanted to see further along was to what happened with Sloane and like the mysteries you solved up, which you pointedly don't give a shit about or do in season 4.
Felt like going down a list of things that I specifically wanted to see in season 4, looking at the camera and going, I'm not going to do this.
I think I put it down in my list when I was putting my letters why bother into the leading to my next point, the Avatar live action series. Why bother 2, the bothering?
So I'll tell you why bother on the live action Avatar.
So get people like you
interested. Because I would not have watched all of Avatar and Korra this year.
Yeah.
Which they can't go down on my list.
Right.
But I would not have watched those. And so if even one child's heart is turned by the live action, it's worth all the stomachs of all the fans that it turned.
You see that why that pisses me off though, is because it immediately, oh, that's great, it'll turn people on to the actual source material. And it's the same thing with comics or everything, or video games, and it's like that leads it to believe that live action movies or TV shows are the only real thing.
Right.
And that like, oh, that's a real story then. And once it's proven to me that someone's taken this seriously, then I'll go back and watch your little kitty cartoon.
Right.
And it feels condescending to me.
It absolutely is condescending.
And I hate that. Especially, I love animation so much, and live action shit for me has No, a lot of this works because it's in animation. Like a lot of this is fun because of the things it does in animation.
The fandom power flex of just cruising past a property and going,
I can fix it.
Spend $500 million on a live action version that I'll grudgingly watch, and I'll consider watching your show.
Yeah,
it is hilarious in retrospect, but also I can see how that's definitely condescending and shitty. But also, it's specifically why I didn't plug into it. Every time every time we watch an anime, and I'm like, maybe this would work better in live action, but almost all of those actually have.
To their point, and I don't think it's on. It was not this year, the live action One Piece.
Right.
But the live action One Piece, I'm like, okay, if you're going to do this, take a property that's inherently like, are either too long for any reasonable human to get through, or is inherently flawed in its premise, and just get through to the heart of it.
Thing we should probably correct in 2025. Currently, at this moment, I have seen 4 or 5 times as much animated One Piece as I have seen
the live action.
Live action.
Yeah, you should definitely give that a.
By that I mean I've seen 4 or 5 episodes of the animated and 0 live action.
Yeah, because of the Patreon requests.
But weirdly, like, yeah, no, I don't know about this live action One Piece. You know, if you're an old school fan of the anime like me.
Right. It's like, okay, now I'm having the reverse problem of trying to get you to watch the live action version of the thing. And like, come on. that one's the good one this time.
Can you make an anime of it? Maybe I'll.
I think that's the problem of like One Piece is like, well, we'll make it digestible and we'll like streamline some of this and basically fix some stuff. And with Avatar, I was like, you don't have to fucking fix a thing. Stop it.
And the stuff that having watched the cartoon now, it's, you know, we used to joke in design school that like if you want to ruin a friend's life, you could just point out bad kerning and typography. Once you learn to see it, it will drive you fucking insane.
Well, I'm not, and
like in the same way, like I get now all the things that you were like, that's wrong in Avatar, the live action, where I was like, no, but it's working fine in the story. It's like, and you were like, yeah, no, in the context of this show, sure, this is working, but like, I'm telling you, this could be worlds better.
Like this, like I'm telling you, this could be gold, not bronze.
Right.
Like this. Honestly, they started showing new stills of the new series of Avatar that's after Korra, and it looks so fucking
with
cool.
Their Earthbender,
like
Avatar.
their amputee Earthbender Avatar, and some sort of like post-apocalyptic future cataclysmic.
Where they're living in not compounds, but like
safe
haven
cities
anymore. Yeah, havens.
Man, it's super cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be rad. Let's see, what else have I got in the list here?
Speaking of things that have fallen off as far as new season, Tulsa King was actually like
that's the other thing on the list.
Tulsa King was so shockingly good in its first season. We were all like, okay, we have to give respect to Paramount and
apparently Taylor Sheridan can
Taylor Sheridan, like whatever I disagree with him,
fucks.
like that he can fucking tell a story. You got to give it to that. And then we watched Tulsa. Season 2 was a journey.
Well, they move it from they don't move it. It's still in Tulsa, but now it has wiggle fingers on it. Because they're shooting it in Georgia, like all other television,
right?
Which is fine. Georgia's got fucking great professional crews and shit.
Is the sun brighter in Georgia? Why is the lighting different?
It all looks different. Also, all the characters are. It is much more of a comedy ensemble, screwball heist gang.
They bullshit. Are the cartoonish parodies of themselves.
Oh my lord! This season was just painful. It felt like watching USA or TNT early aughts. No, the closer was better than this. Like.
Well, I mean, adding even like Neil McDonough and Frank Grillo as like 2-part villains there in this season, and like I didn't give a shit. I was like, man, those are 2 of some of the greatest character actors.
Right, we were so excited at the start of the year, and then by up 2, we're like, hey man, am I crazy? What the fuck? So speaking of things that we watched this year, just gonna run down the list of all the shows that we, put our time in to talk about each week. We watched Echo.
Right.
The MCU. Some of these, I was like, fuck, it's been a long year. Over MCU entry with, it was pretty fun. I know Echo was not, I don't feel like was critically loved, but compared to like Secret Invasion for me and stuff, I enjoyed Echo. I wish it had been a little more fully baked. I don't know. I felt like they rushed that finale.
Well, her getting the powers at the end was a little weird.
That felt out of nowhere. Like, no, she's had this cool Daredevil-y Echo power. Like,
yeah, wait, what?
And now she's got magic. We watched Death and Other Details with Mandy Patinkin,
Mhm.
which was attempt entry into the
I mean, very
crime
man,
serial thing.
again, fun for the episodes I watched, but for whatever reason, like
Just
no
didn't.
compulsion to finish it.
Right. Watched Griselda.
Yeah.
A crime after all your Narcos watching and everything.
Well,
It's fun.
it's one of those of like, why am I not just watching Narcos?
Right. I have kept up with Ghosts US. I really have come to enjoy that show, but it's a sitcom. I mean, it's a really good sitcom. There's certain sitcoms that hit or don't hit for me, but I couldn't tell you what's better or worse about it. It's just taste, I think. Similarly, NBC Peacock has been putting out a few new episodes of the new Night Court. I guess started up a new season. I have no idea what seasons run anymore. And they have the original Night Court changed cast a ton in the first 2 seasons. It didn't really settle on what you think is Night Court until it's like Parks and Rec until like end of season 2.
Sure.
Marquee Post wasn't really on there yet and all this. This Night Court, I feel like, has finally settled into like their cast and hit the right pace for the right like goofiness.
Okay.
And again, that doesn't mean that it has risen to a level where I would go grab people in the streets and like, have you given the Night Court reboot a shot? But I'm watching it going, no, as an old school Night Court lover who watched the first season of your reboot, I'm very glad that we're here. It's cruising along. Same time, it's not making the top 10 of my year. Let's see. We also watched The Gentleman.
Yeah, that was had a stronger start, and
Is it Jimmy? Is that the character's name?
Jimmy is the character's name. Yeah,
Jimmy's the reason Jimmy's the reason that show didn't rank for
man.
me.
There's a
Solely rides on that dipshit's shoulders.
man. It's with like Renegade now. Like, there's more wrong with those shows than just one specific character most of the time. But like, The Gentleman was definitely like, no, I can trace all my problems from the story, trace somewhere back to a thing Jimmy did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like that
even when I don't like the other characters, it's because they've not responded to something Jimmy did.
Well, because they can't. It's like Jimmy is some sort of dog they can't kill. Like, wait, these guys are murderous gangsters, and Jimmy has fucked up in such a way that the only response, a responsible gangster, like, if they were to kill Jimmy, I, as an audience member, would go, yeah, I mean, you gotta, though. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, murder's wrong and everything, but if you're gonna be a gangster,
sure.
But if a gangster, you're gonna be a gangster,
But you gotta kill Jimmy.
yeah, but Jimmy's gotta go, right? Like, am I crazy? And yeah, that it's so weird that was the one that got the. I mean, it makes sense. It's like the most popular movie he's done in a while. Guy Ritchie. So like that's the one that gets the movie out of it. And like, and I think there's a Snatch TV show
There
too.
is. Yeah.
That I don't give a shit about. But I was like, man, there's nothing really wrong with The Gentleman as a 2-hour like trip down that sort of thing. And the only thing I could thought of that you would get into was like the nitty-gritty of the doing the land acquisition of all those
Right.
lords. Like, I thought that might be interesting to get into, and that kind of doesn't really add up.
Right. No, they don't really get into that. Yeah. We watched Dead Boy Detectives, which I only watched a couple of, and did I finish that? Honestly, I don't remember.
No, we finished it.
Seems
Remember?
fine. That's right. We did finish that.
We finished it because it was crazy. Like that, at some point we realized that his arc is going to admit that he loves his partner.
Yes.
And we were both like, wait, they're not together?
That's right. That's right.
Because we watched most of that series.
Are we pretending like y'all aren't already in love?
And I was like, wait, no, I thought they were a couple already. That was
Right.
very much the vibe they were giving off. And like, I don't know, and that's one of those things I'm like, I don't know what you do with that, because you love that the actors have a crazy chemistry, right?
But
That's
like,
a great, but also like,
this is our like finale reveal, right?
but this is like a big, it's the big emotional reveal that he finally realizes he's in love with or that he finally realizes he has to tell, what's his name, that he's in love with him. And it's like, and you as an audience are like, whoa, I thought we were way past this. I really liked, like, some of the ideas are great though.
Mhm.
Like the Lord of Cats or
That's
whatever.
right.
King of Cats.
That's the King of Cats. What gave us King of Cats?
Yes,
I am remembering Dead Boy Detectives. Now I
their
gotta go back
their
and
hell
rewatch that.
their hell trip where they find sloth or whatever, or despair.
That's right. That's right. Yep. I need to go back and rewatch Dead Boy Detectives. Damn.
It's no, and the witch in it. The witch in it is the best part.
Yes.
The witch villain that keeps like wanting to eat kids and
Yes.
is just fucking crazy. Like,
All right, shit. What else have I got on the list here? We watched some MGM shows that were so-so. After watching Narcos, Hotel Cocaine just felt too light. And the Billy the Kid, I liked it, but it was not the Young Guns I wanted.
Right. Well, they're very invested in the Billy the Kid being a good guy or
Mm,
whatever, and I'm
mm.
like, he can be an outlaw and a bad like there.
Could just be bad. I'm all right with that.
It's weird how much I vacillate back and forth of like I at one point don't want to watch movies or TV shows about real bad people anymore. I don't want biopics about Elon Musk or Steve
Right.
Jobs or fucking like what was that one with Anne Hathaway and Jared Leto that we watched with WeWork?
Yep, we
And I,
work.
and I was like, I don't want to watch. I don't want to
We
fucking.
crashed.
I don't want to humanize these fucking actual evil people
Right.
and realize, oh, but they did bad things because of I don't fucking care.
Yep, don't care.
But in fiction or whatever, or at least historical fiction, like I feel like Billy the Kid could be like, oh, he could be an outlaw. We don't have to like bend over backwards to make him a fucking good
Same,
guy.
Yeah. We also discovered some stuff this past year. We watched Centaur World.
Oh my god, Centaur World is so fucking good. And season 2, I think, did drop, or did it drop this year?
Ooh, yeah,
If it did, I have to update my list.
right. I did not finish it out. I still lack like 2.
Yeah, you're still on season 2 somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. Also watched Fight Night, which I enjoyed more than you, but was a fun exploration into this weird heist that happened after a Muhammad Ali boxing match in Atlanta that ends up being how huge New York mob boss.
Oh my god, no! Centaur World is 2021, both seasons.
Like
it was way behind. Yeah.
Fight Night is how a pretty huge kind of black gangster from New York
trying to
gets a foothold in Atlanta.
Yeah,
and it's not even really why he's there. It just when all the dust settles from what is honestly a better than that Florida show confluence of dipshittery and crime. Because like they just set out to rob a group of people they just shouldn't rob, and it's not even like the robbery goes that wrong. It's just that the whole thing is fucking stupid. And there's angles from every side. But by the end of the series, I liked how they'd kind of followed each phase of the crime and then sewn them up in a sensible manner so that you kind of felt where you were drawing down to. And it ends basically with you realizing that Samuel L. Jackson now has a pretty good fucking hold in Atlanta. Or at least a reason to be here, Black Mecca.
Man, like if I didn't update put Florida Man on my list so they can't go on like on the straight bottom. I forgot I watched that, but man, Florida Man can suck a dick.
I didn't think I saw it in your list and was like, oh yeah, that's because it sucked.
Ugh. Some of these are easy to remember, like because you really hated them or really loved them. But there was like this year I was like, oh, that came out this year, I guess. Like Griselda, I completely forgot we had watched it.
We also watched just recently Hysteria, and the only reason that I was just loving it and loving it, the ambiguity or whatever.
Talk about the shows that we realized we missed the point of, like at the end, like wait, this was what this thing was trying to say.
Yeah, I was so mad that it wasn't real because I was so sure it was.
I mean,
or was it real or whatever?
It was. But it's one of those things. Is that ambiguity is that they go for ambiguity, and that sucks because it's like, wait,
no, you laid your cards down.
No, but some of this only makes sense if it is real.
Like you showed me a scene. I was mad. I felt chumped.
Did she get pulled up those stairs?
Right.
No, for real. Did she get pulled up those stairs? Like,
we also watched at least part of Bad Monkey, which was fun. Again, Apple TV runs everything a little slow for me.
I thought I was like penultimate. Like, I thought it was an 8-episode series, and like I was at episode
through
6, and there was like 12 episodes. Right, I'm like, I'm done then.
God.
This is not. It's cute enough, but not that cute.
We watched Cobra Kai. Speaking of how's it still going?
Now that definitely needs to wrap up, and
I'm ready for it to wrap up.
But as far as this season we were realizing
watching it.
This season we were realizing it's like this season has gone one too far off its skis. Like conflicts keep arising because we can't bed them down because the show needs to keep going. That feel like they should be resolved. Daniel and Johnny should not be fighting anymore. What's her name that joins up with Cobra Kai for an insane, like, no, you can't team up with what you know about Kreese now. It's insane that you're on this team. That's a crazy decision.
No, the Tory Kreese thing was.
But how that season?
I'm still fucking.
But how that season ends?
Yes,
is next level.
Yes.
As far as like, hey, don't you want to see how this wraps up?
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, I do.
Step aside. March, are you with eternal sunshine? Bruno Mars needs a gambling addiction hotline. House of Dragon season 2. What's JoJo going through? Diddy's house was searched, they found 1,000 tunes of blue. You collab with Charlie XCX and Addison Rae. How did she scream in such a satisfying way? Dogs of TikTok, then oh no.
Tic-tac-toe.
So the other amazing thing we had this year was a ton of Patreon showrunners.
Wow. So, man,
Choices. We
Talking
actually have
about-
2 Patreon showrunners. It seemed to be an alternating
Yeah.
feud between John Paul and Danny Doggett. But between the two of them, they kept us pretty busy watching shows.
now as far as paying off this year, I thought on balance, that was actually a great.
Oh,
It was a great
amazing.
run of showrunner picks.
We got to discover so much cool stuff.
It was
I had so much fun with those.
Kotaro Lives Alone was this year.
Yes. So
Delicious in Dungeons was in
Delicious
this year.
in Dungeon was this year. We also had Everything's Gonna Be Okay, which I
That's
absolutely
right.
loved right up until the asshole older brother leaves them both by the side of the road, and then they apologize to. I'm so
Well,
mad at that.
again, like,
so fucking mad.
Wait,
at that.
who is in wait, who's in the right in this scene?
Right,
Like,
talk about me misunderstanding,
I
and I was
was-
so mad, dude.
what?
I was so mad.
Wait, you apologizing to him?
Oh my god, it broke me. I will probably go back and try to rewatch some of that because I really enjoyed that show where it was working. But oh my gosh, it made me so mad.
Danny Doggett introduced us to some great actual like anime that we both liked.
Dude, Kotaro and Delicious in Dungeon
was
both just fantastic.
really
Delicious in
great
Dungeon
stuff.
particularly, just amazing. John Paul gave me what was
oh
the funniest,
my goodness.
intentionally or not his intention,
Yeah.
the show intentionally or not, the funniest show I watched all year, hands down, The Baxters.
The Baxters. So
I honestly, I thought I was gonna hurt myself. I didn't think I could get my shit together. I looked over at Nick, was like, "We may have to stop this show. I'm gonna die."
no, I remember this. Your exact words were, and no, I think either was me saying it to you or you saying it to me, but I think the exact wording was, Les, I think I want to die, but also I need to watch the next episode
Yes,
like right now.
yes.
It's a weird feeling.
A voice in the room
Yeah,
said it.
I don't know if it was either of us, but we both agreed on it.
Yes.
But like it was said, and it was right because we were like, this is physically killing
I
us.
hadn't breathed in the entire first episode we watched, and we were immediately. He asked us to watch the opener and closer of each season. God,
Oh my
it
god!
opens with infidelity and us going, haha. She's it's funny that like she
God,
wants
but
to stay with him, and the Christian
can't
family
say
wants
my-
him to.
Can't
know.
I have to save my marriage?
And we were like, all right, that's fine. And then we jumped to the season finale of that season, and her husband gets shot in the driveway. And
From a crazy stalker
that
from
we-
them too that were after those two.
the punch of having guessed, like, because we'd seen that stalker for just a second in the first episode, and we're
Uh-huh.
like, oh, that kid's a little weird. Oh my
Oh
lord.
no!
And then season 2 to 3, and then I think it's 3 seasons long, when it ends with her AIDS diagnosis because she went to France and had sex once.
Well, like a slut. the inference of the show is that if she had just not gone, like everyone treats her like she is crazy and kind of slutty
my
for having gone to
God.
France. Why would you ever leave America? You're a good girl.
The Baxters is spectacular.
Oh my god.
It is. I mean, I guess it should be one of the worst. Whatever. I don't care. I want to.
She sings that final song to them at their wedding.
Oh my god, that's right. Fuck. Oh my
after the
god.
AIDS,
After
the AIDS diagnosis.
she sits there and cries and sings it at their wedding.
Yeah.
Oh my lord.
So you know that the director on that scene on the day was like, okay, so remember that you're happy for them because they are getting
But
married,
also
and you're
you have
singing
AIDS.
this song for them, but also in the back of your mind you have AIDS. All right. So all right, we're good. All right, we're rolling. Stacy, okay, happy, but you have AIDS. Happy, and you have AIDS.
Oh man. Oh fucking hell. Yeah, that was absolutely insane. We also watched Unprisoned, and Unprisoned was straight up impressive to me. It's well acted, it's funny, it's cute. It takes a main character who is so solidly in the wrong, but the
Mhm.
show's centered
the
around
show,
her.
but the show, at least this time, the show knows she's
it.
in the wrong.
Yeah, yeah. But at the start of it, she's the central character. The
Yeah.
show is absolutely, she's the mouthpiece for herself and acts right.
Right.
But you know she's right. To watch it come around by the end of the season of her kind of getting this just beam of light smack in the head of fuck, I think I might be wrong. was genuinely impressive writing.
It opens with her like not wanting to let her dad stay with her, and even the parole officer, and we were both like, okay, we get that you had a rough relationship with your dad,
but parole officer's like, what?
But you do realize that, like, do you have a vested interest in your dad not going back to prison? Because if you do, you gotta let him stay with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm telling you that there's no other option here,
right?
Like, otherwise he's gonna go in that house or whatever that he knows a bunch of people, and the only reason he knows them is because they're old criminal days.
Like, man, I think you're like the friend he's gonna go stay with instead is like Fox or something, and like, no, man, that can't be good.
Well, also she gets mad of like lying over losing that job, but he has that ice cream cart.
Right.
And suddenly the ice cream cart gets fucked up or destroyed or stolen.
Just over.
And she doesn't, and I know it's not her responsibility and she doesn't have to, and no one has to, I guess. But you realize you could solve this for him by buying him another ice cream.
Like
he bought it at a used store.
Like a $300 ice cream cart or something. He bought it cheap.
And he bought it cheap and made his money back in a day.
Yeah.
Like he was.
I was so irritated with her, but we stuck with it and we watched that whole season. Like we burned through it.
Well, the breaking point is when he gets arrested.
Yes.
And her response to him getting arrested is just straight up insane.
And the sun just shuts her down. Like it's so, like there's so many moments where we started realizing like, no shit, man, I think the show knows she's wrong.
Right. Well, I mean, it started when every other character is like, even her best friend is like, what? He's in jail right now and you're here getting your hair done?
Right. What are you doing?
What are you fucking like? Oh, I'm having a me day. What the? That's an insane response. You selfish bitch.
The other one that John Paul gave us that we tore through, that I believe I think there's more coming.
Oh, is there?
I hope. I don't know. Is Average Joe.
Yes.
And the only reason that I'm scared about if there's
another season coming.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Because they have to deal with the cop they shot.
What to say, but also our favorite character may be gone.
Yeah.
Which makes me sad. But that show was fantastic.
The Chameleon.
Yes.
And she's not even in it for like the first two episodes. Like she just shows up.
That blind open where we're just following this blonde lady around like a
kindergarten teacher
at a kindergarten or whatever, and then revealing that she's like the hardest of the hard assassins. Oh my God, man. Average Joe was amazing.
I'll do this for you, but you realize if you're fucking jerking me around and my daughter still being alive, like I will fucking because you realize she only has his word on it.
Right.
And the only reason we believe it as an audience is the balls you'd have to do to like lie to her and say her daughter is still alive. Right. That's too like you'd have to like not care about living or dying in an extreme way. But also that one had a weird thing at the end too where Joe just isn't wrong enough at the near end of it.
Yes. Yeah. They really want us to be madder at Joe. That's the only thing wrong with that show.
Which is the only reason it didn't make my top 10, I think, is because
they need me to be a little bit madder at Joe than I just am ever going to be. I think he's still in the fucking right.
I don't know if I'm getting more sensitive to the message in shows as I age or not, because I think when I was younger, I was more like, it's just as long as it's cool and they're doing stuff. But now what the show is trying to say and who's in the right matters a lot more to me. Bothers me more.
And I can tell my tastes are changing.
Maybe that's just as I'm getting older or in response to just the world getting fucking fucked up and crazy.
We're going to be kicking I guess we'll have just aired the episode where we talked about Danny's last thing
Dan
your Dan to Dan. But prior to that, he's the reason that I've seen more One Piece anime than live action. He had us watch some he had us watch some One Piece anime, and because I can't read a text, I had us watch more than we should have.
Right.
Did that to us a couple of times this year.
Hey, well, man, Chainsaw Man, you fucked us, man.
Oh, Rat fucked us on Chainsaw Man.
I think he specifically said to not like to those episodes, and I'm pretty sure it was because we weren't going to enjoy episodes 1 through 4.
With One Piece, we kind of did it to ourselves. We mistakenly thought, oh well, this seems like a cliffhanger. I'm going to watch the next one to finish. Well,
we got to figure out what happens to Whale Friend.
Doesn't matter.
Nope.
Doesn't work that way.
Daboon was that his name?
Laboon.
We got to figure out what happens to Laboon.
Balloon. I thought I would hate One Piece.
And then I
don't want to go watch more of it, but I didn't.
And then we had to skip
it.
350 episodes later
that was the most fun thing to me about it was that we skipped hundreds of episodes and we're like still in the story.
Also, we should mention John Paul's pick for El Defo on
That's the one that wasn't on my list. Yes,
Like,
El Defo
was
was spectacular.
very, very good and important too. I thought.
Yes, it was from a couple of years ago. I had to look up the year of that because I wanted to put it on my list. That was so shockingly good that both of us were sitting there in a very dusty room, you know, trying to not cry.
Well, also, we were calling a little girl, like a little 8-year-old, a bitch. Like, he's like,
that kid sucked.
Because that kid, what was her, Becky or whatever?
First best friend sucked.
Yeah,
man.
Betsy or whatever. Fuck
Second
her.
best friend was so.
Yeah.
But then, like the next morning or a couple of days later, I ended up rewatching at least the first episode with Fanny, just because I told her about it. And she was like, "Can I watch that?" That the sound design is all from the kid's perspective is remarkable.
It's really cool.
The show is wonderful. I mean, everyone should watch El Defo. If you have kids, your kids should watch El Defo. But everybody, just to like Grinch style warm your heart.
Yeah.
Everyone should watch that show. It's so
well. Also,
so
you're going to run across a deaf person at some point in your life.
You're going to think differently about disability. I mean, I'm not saying it solves everything, and like now I am a disability genius.
No, but it's something.
But like, yeah, you'll think it will add something to your knowledge about it. I promise. It's so beautiful. It's on Apple TV. It's worth it's maybe it and Ted Lasso may be my favorite fucking thing.
Overall, though, Danny and John, with a few exceptions, great show running this year.
Yeah, absolutely awesome.
Good on you.
June, now I'm gonna pick up the pace. Inside out, I came out, upside out. She got this place. Interview, change your life. Kids don't drink and drive. Let's go potty in the water. Can't forget the boys. My July. News about a baby gypsy bros. Cody Cohen Mojo. Looks like Joe's a no-go. Trump shot, red box, new drop from Katie.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
But that kind of gets us through all the stuff that we watched this year. All the stuff that everybody I keep seeing on the best of end of lists, and I'm like, no, I watched some of that. What are you talking about?
Yeah, what are you fucking?
And I think kind of wraps it up.
Well, I mean, everyone lost their shit over a 3-body problem too.
Yeah,
and
I just was just mad on that.
I was more than mad. I think that sucked. Like, like it was
it was expensive. They're almost certainly not going to get a sequel or another season or anything or whatever.
Yeah, it's way too expensive.
And it only handles like a bare start of that story.
Right.
I
mean, there's a whole
there's a much longer version.
I think it's a Chinese version.
Yes,
that does it.
Yeah, there's a much more full version.
And that's the full version of it, and apparently that's also super dry.
I also don't care.
And
yes.
Yeah. So I guess if you're want for more 3-body, there's more out there.
Oh, there's plenty. You could also just read the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you've listened to us talk about all this, and there's several shows where you're like, but Nick, but Les, such and such was good. Such and such was good. Well, there's 10 or 20 shows. Some of them are going to overlap. Coming next week when we talk about the best things we watched all year. Next week, we're going to talk about the stuff that absolutely made the months go by, the stuff that got us through a year that had one particularly terrible Tuesday night of television in November. These are the shows that actually got us up to that point and through it and are keeping us going. The stuff that we're going to be rewatching next year when new shows fail us. And we'll talk about all of those next week in our best of part 2, the best.
Yes.
What?
Until next time, TV Dudes out.
November, Wicked's finally on the big screen. Jake and Tyson fight in the ring. F-bomb in the anthem, Trump won the race.
I like my suitcase.
And finally, December, Spotify Wrapped, she's ignored. Trump got Man of the Year award. UFOs, Louis G, Peppy Shrimp Bean. Now it's time to see what 2025 will bring. What a year. Thanks for watching.